Like, this is basically a form of torture at this point. A morbid curiosity to a certain extent, but certainly a torture. There's only one episode of Daredevil to talk about. It's episode 7. It wasn't good. It was pretty bad. And there's 2 episodes left, so I want to do the final 2 as a ramble in a couple of weeks, unless episode 8 is especially bad. There isn't much to talk about with episode 7, so I won't ramble for 40 minutes, I hope. But I bet if you did go back and listen to each of these sequentially, I'll just sound more and more despondent as they go. I bet I do. It's not on purpose, but I bet I do. And after I finished watching episode 7, I went to Blue Sky and I just tweeted out, so that's 7 of 9 episodes done. I couldn't tell you what the plot of this show is. Can anyone do that? And I know some of you in chat are watching Daredevil as well. Can you tell me what the show's about? Like why does it exist? What's it for? What is it doing? What does it want to do? What is the motivations? Because I could certainly tell you for even like the bad Disney Plus shows, like Loki was probably one of the worst for world breaking, but you can still say like a Loki that breaks the rules of time, gets arrested by the time police, and then gets recruited by the time police to find and stop an even worse variant of himself from destroying all of time. Like, that's basically the plot. That's what happens in it. Can anyone do that for Daredevil? Like, sum up Born Again, the show, not the comic, in like a couple of sentences? Because I can't. I mean, I've made guesses as we've been going, like, oh, it's essentially about Matt and Fisk descending into their baser instincts and both wanting to hurt people in different ways or for different reasons, but still just wanting to hurt people. But in Matt's case, they're doing it without at all touching on his religious side, which was incredibly important in the Netflix show they're stealing from now. Like, I'm not a religious person, but I still respect that Matt's religion is very key to his character. And they're just too scared to touch that, but they're not scared to show CG blood and say fuck a lot, so it's just like Deadpool and Wolverine. Why aren't you liking this? Please God, like it. So anyway, episode 7. Remember when I guessed last time that originally when this was meant to be 18 episodes, Muse was probably going to be the first villain for the first half of the season, and then it'd be Fisk in the latter half? Totally wrong, because this is the only other Muse episode, and while I did think I caught a couple of reshot scenes, it didn't seem like the pivotal ones involving Muse were new to me. Could be wrong, but I don't think they were. And they did the Disney thing. Disney does this thing with Marvel where they never leave the door open for villains. They just kill them off, never to be seen again. If they did that in comics, you would never have lasting villains like Joker or Doctor Doom or whatever, because they'd be one and done. So yeah, Muse dies in episode 7, and I guess it's important, sort of. But this is the only other time we get to see him, and he doesn't fight Daredevil in his lair. So when I was mentioning last time that I thought they would have a second fight, turns out that's just trailer footage that was not included in the final cut of their fight from episode 6. So, what even happens? Right, so Muse, it cuts to Matt's girlfriend, who's the psychiatrist I told you about that Fisk is seeing with his wife for their marriage counselling. And a mysterious young-ish guy comes in that we've never seen before. And I actually said out loud to myself, well, maybe the dog was present, but to myself, oh, that's Muse then. And it is. They don't really keep it hidden that long. That, yeah, this is Muse, and he's just a young guy who's been in and out of psychiatric hospitals. I don't know how this is related to his comic persona, by the way, so I can't critique that. But he's come there because his lair has been taken over by the police. They're on his heels, and Daredevil's looking for him without the help of his friends, because his private investigator friend, he's heard in the grapevine that somebody saw Daredevil, and that's unacceptable that he dare do that. So he's on his own, just trying to find out what's happening by getting some information from the victim he saved, the White Tiger's daughter, granddaughter, niece, wife, spouse, whatever. So yeah, Muse has, as it turns out, has been seeing apparently the one psychiatrist slash therapist slash marriage counsellor that exists in New York City, because everybody goes to her. Everybody. Also, she tries to psychoanalyze Matt for no reason over and over. Like, that would be a pain in the arse to be in a relationship with. But anyway, yeah, she's a marriage counsellor for the mayor, but she's also seeing deeply troubled young men who've been in and out of hospitals, and you do later find out that he murdered a Taekwondo instructor that was forced upon him by his parents, which fills a plot hole that I called question 2. How does he know how to fight? Filled. He was forced to do Taekwondo. He does point out that he was terrible at it. So he should be absolutely no threat to Daredevil, because Daredevil is basically a ninja. In Defender, Stick says that Matt is the single greatest martial art talent he has ever seen, and he is able to, on a martial arts level, defeat Iron Fist. So that's pretending that this is that Matt. He shouldn't have any issue with anyone who sort of kind of knows Taekwondo. But anyway, that's irrelevant. So Muse is talking to the therapist, and it becomes apparent that he's talking to her about his persona, the Muse persona, and him kind of taking it on. And at the same time as this, Matt is dressed as Daredevil, sneaking back into Muse's lair to try and find out what he's doing. So these two things are kind of happening side by side. I'll handle the Fisk stuff after. Let's just focus on this for now. So anyway, he's getting a bit more sinister with the doctor, and he credits I said doctor, therapist, whatever she is. He credits Matt's girlfriend with helping bring out the persona that he likes, bringing out the Muse persona. He credits her with it. He idolizes her, and that means she's responsible in her own way for 60 plus deaths. That probably will never be addressed. It is not addressed in this episode. But he kind of gets real close to her and talks about, like, oh, I'm Muse, basically. He says it in less obvious terms, but she gets the idea, and then he says, oh, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, can you make it to the door in time? And what I was thinking was, I think she had a secretary in a previous episode. I think she did. But anyway, she tries to run to the door. Muse stops her, knocks her out, or like just beats her and puts her to the floor. She doesn't scream. She kind of goes, eh. She doesn't scream. She doesn't call for help. She doesn't go to the window and bang on it, because there's a wide open window, and as we learn later in the episode, it was just out into the street. She doesn't have a secretary, which didn't seem right to me. She doesn't have co-workers in the building. No one who could hear a commotion of her. And, well, as I say, she didn't even try and scream for help. So maybe she deserves it. At the same time, Matt has to work out what's going on and where Muse is, and his police informant won't help him. So he's in Muse's lair from the previous episode, and he takes off his glove and he's running his hand across paintings that Muse has been using the blood to paint. And as the viewer, we can see that Muse has painted that therapist's face many, many times. But they were obviously stuck with, well, how is a blind man going to work that out? I'm curious if any of you can guess. How does Matt know what has been drawn over and over again, and he can recognize it as, holy shit, that's my girlfriend, oh no? How does he work it out? Give me your best bets. I'll wait. His fingers can taste her DNA. Look, what they do in the bedroom is not what I'm asking. Smell the eyes? No, it's not that. See, they were quite stuck. Mouth shape, he licks the wall. Okay, no, look. He runs his hand over a few, I say a few, I think it was literally a couple of the pictures, and then it cuts to him doing the same to her actual face, and then him having the, oh god, moment. The paintings do kind of look like her, like enough that you can tell as the viewer, but the dimples of the page, the pigment of the paint, will not contour to a face. You can't run your fingers over a lumpy picture of paint and be like, I can see what this is perfectly in my mind. And I'm not exaggerating, he runs his bare hand over to the pictures and knows it's his girlfriend. It is insanely dumb. But they needed him to know that she was in danger. You know what they could have done? Had her, like, maybe pocket dial him? Just as in Matt, like, not knowing he's Daredevil, but just dialing Matt to, say, like, call the cops. They could have had that happen. And the only other thing to note, because he realises and he's going to go rush to her help, is the crooked cop. The main crooked cop happens to come in and see him as Daredevil in there. And he says, like, stop! And then Daredevil flimps his baton at him and just knocks him out. But a cop has seen him. So that means they can tell Fisk Daredevil's back for sure, because we've seen him. Anyway, focusing on the Muse stuff. Muse is in the office, and he knows his time's almost up, so he's put down a canvas on the floor. He ties a thingy above her arm to stop the blood flow, and then he slits her wrist. Lets the blood start to flow out. He's rambling, he's nuts, he's crazy, he's gonna kill her. She fights back a little bit, but she's kind of now getting blood loss, so she's kind of getting a bit floopy with it. And he has a gun, and he pulls the gun on her, and just as he does that, despite it being broad daylight, Daredevil somehow gets from the train station, or whatever, the abandoned train station, to her office, smashes in through the window, and they have what I can only describe as the most embarrassing fight in the series so far. It's about 1:20 long, and it's awful. And the CG blood is out in force because at one point Muse turns his gun again on the psychiatrist. So Matt fires his baton through his shoulder blade, which also that's something important to remember. It has the force to go through a body. That's now something they've established, and it better always work like that. Like flies through his shoulder blade, splatters CG blood everywhere. Matt's fighting him. He has the upper hand. I think he gets cut once. I don't know if that's going to be relevant for anything, but he gets cut once. And as he's fighting him, he kind of kicks Muse away, and then all of a sudden, bang, 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 gunshots. Turns, and he sees that the psychiatrist found the gun, and she blew Muse away. Muse falls down dead. She collapses from blood loss. He stabilizes her while talking to her, so she kind of remembers hearing someone say her name, but the blood loss means that she doesn't remember hearing or seeing Daredevil. So then the cops bust in, or sorry, not the cops, the anti-vigilante task force, because Fisk wants Muse dealt with. They find her, stabilize her, they find that Muse is dead. Fisk comes in and sees, and despite one of the cops saying that Daredevil was there, even though they did not see Daredevil there, they saw him at the lair. They say, yeah, he was definitely here, meaning the psychiatrist's office. They can't say that for sure. No one saw him, but whatever. That's just so Fisk can say, he was never here. My task force stopped Muse. And that's what they go with. They lie and say, yes, my task force were the ones who found and stopped Muse from murdering this poor doctor. So that they can get a win in the news headlines. And BB, which is doing those awful, talking to camera, shaky cam things, she gets called to the mayor's office to talk to one of his toadies, who is probably the least threatening human in existence. I think I could even beat him up. And he threatens her because she has footage of someone saying, I saw Daredevil go in that window. And he basically subtly, or less than subtly, implies, yeah, we're going to make your life really difficult if you post that. And so something else might happen with that. I say might because there's 2 episodes left and nothing's happened so far, really. So they're running out of time to make things happen. So that's about it as far as like the Muse and Daredevil stuff goes. Muse is dead and Daredevil is by his girlfriend's side. Everyone's angry for different reasons. And she has some weird lines about, like, she hates people wearing a mask, which I guess is just to create conflict with Matt when she eventually, inevitably discovers that he's Daredevil at some point, probably. And his PA cop friend sounds very cancelled after season 1. They are currently filming season 2, so you are wrong, because it was originally the second half of season 1. They have the opportunity to be more coherent with season 2 because they are fully committed to it being a sequel to the Netflix shows. This season 1, quote-unquote, 9 episodes, is a Frankenstein's monster of what they had originally shot before COVID restrictions, I think, or whatever. It was the writer's strike. That's where it was, the writer's strike. Before the writer's strike happened, and then they decided in that space, actually this is now, we're going to canonically count the Netflix show because we weren't before, but we are now, so we have to do a bunch of pickup shots and try and rejiggle this around to pretend that it makes sense. On that note, I noticed 2 very clear instances of either reshoots or ADR to try and match it up to the Netflix show. Matt has a conversation with his girlfriend at the start of the episode where she's talking to him about, she's noticed he has a bruise, which is from his fight with Muse, but he just says, I'm a blind guy, I walk into stuff, it's embarrassing, I don't want to talk about it. She kind of lets him off the hook with that, but kind of also keeps pushing a little bit. And she mentions Foggy. And what this was originally was that there was a Foggy and he died before Born Again, but now that it's part of the Netflix show, quote unquote, We've seen what happened to Foggy, and Karen was there, so the ADR, her saying, Foggy? Well, sorry, she says Foggy, and then the ADR, her saying, and Karen? Because originally she didn't say that. Like, you can't see her face. It's very clearly ADR. Other thing I noticed, going over to the Fisk side of things, is that Fisk's wife, Vanessa, has a clandestine meeting alone with the head of the Tracksuit Mafia, who was defying Fisk in the last episode. And they have a very frank conversation. He's basically saying, you know, this was a hell of a lot better when you were in charge. Now Fisk is running for mayor. Why the hell is he doing that? Why does he want to be legal? Let's keep doing this criminal thing. It's working out real well. We all like you better because you're a woman and you're the best. And during that scene, I'm pretty sure they were never together. I think they were both in the same location. I encourage you to go watch it if you are watching it again. There's a far shot where he's walking up to a lady seen from the back, and then their entire conversation is reverse shots where the camera is just looking at them talking, and then the scene ends with the Tracksuit Mafia guy walking a little bit closer, and you see over quote-unquote Vanessa's shoulder, the hair looks completely different to me. I'm pretty sure it's a stand-in. I am very certain they were never in the same scene together, and that this might have been a reshot one or just a rejiggled one. But go back and watch it. If you watched it already and didn't notice, with that in mind, go watch it again and it should be very apparent to you that that was either reshot or rejiggled. But anyway, the Tracksuit Mafia guy wants Vanessa back in charge because they were happy. And she says, why are you telling me this? Or are you wanting my help? And then that's kind of like where it ends off. Fisk is doing stuff with his task force. He's really angry that Daredevil's back, but he's keeping stum about who Matt is. He hasn't said anything about it. He just wants rid of vigilantes. He doesn't like them for some reason. He keeps on saying they've wrongly arrested him or led to his arrest. That this was the Netflix Fisk. That doesn't cut but mustard, but whatever. So the episode ends with the Tracksuit Mafia guy receiving a text from Vanessa, and it is Vanessa, you see her do it, saying this location right now, he's alone. And the Tracksuit Mafia guy pulls out a gun and goes into a restaurant to try and do a little bit of Goodfellas. Or sorry, what was the one where Michael goes into the Italian restaurant and hides the gun in the toilet and shoots the guys. They're kind of doing a reference to that. Was that Goodfellas or was that Godfather? That was Godfather, right? Whatever. Anyway, so he's going there to kill Fisk. He sees Fisk eating a meal alone, walks in. It was Godfather. Pulls a gun, points it at Fisk. Bang! He gets shot and killed. Turns out Fisk had a bodyguard hiding in the shadows that was seemingly expecting him. It's hard to tell because the show is really, really bad at communicating what you're supposed to take from scenes. So the English guy that was previously Vanessa's kind of right-hand man and is a stand-in for Waylon Smithers from the original Daredevil series. Wesley was his actual name. Turns out he was there bodyguarding Fisk. Shoots him. He just says, oh, thank you. And then says, tell my wife, or text my wife and see if she wants me to bring home some of the steak. So, did Vanessa tell Fisk to set up killing that guy because he was getting a bit too uppity? Did she legitimately side with him to try and kill her husband so they could go back to being criminals? Did Kingpin know that she was plotting against him? And the tracksuit guy would do something like that? None of these questions are answered. There's still 2 episodes, so they absolutely could. I'm fine with Vanessa being more evil than Fisk. I kind of want that spy. Like, the actress who plays her, I think, is very good. And if they do a thing where she really goes down the spiral of being the big bad, like, you fine, kill Fisk off. Like, this emasculated version of Fisk isn't any fun to watch anyway. As nice as Vincent D'Onofrio is as Kingpin, this ain't Kingpin. So sure, kill him off. Have a queen pin rather, which is apparently what Echo calls herself in the Echo show, by the way, which is really embarrassing. But whatever. So the Tracksuit Mafia guy from Hawkeye, he's dead. The Tracksuit Mafia is leaderless, and if it is the case that Fisk knows that his wife was conspiring with that guy to kill him, that could go in interesting places as well, because that would mean he no longer has to hold to the deal he made with Matt in season 3 of the Netflix show. Because if his marriage has fallen apart anyway, what does he care if Matt goes after Vanessa? Which will, because like I said last time, the trailers show that that task force goes after Matt. I'm pretty sure it's in his apartment, but I could be wrong. So that's going to be the big end fight probably, and I think the Punisher shows up again then. Punisher has been absolutely wasted, probably because he wasn't originally in the Born Again stuff. There's only been that one scene with him and Matt, which remains the one good scene that had good writing, and had writing that felt like it was from the original show. Everything else has been an embarrassment. This episode has been one of the worst in terms of just what are you doing, why are we doing? You know there's only 2 episodes left, right? Shouldn't you be like... Shouldn't there be a plot? Why isn't there a plot? Why are your fight scenes so shit? Like, the Netflix Daredevil had a really low budget and had to do stuff in a really short period of time. That one-shot fight scene in season 1 of Daredevil, they practiced for 2 days and had half a day of shooting to get it done. And it's a million times better than anything in Born Again. A million times. Even the story surrounding it, of the Russian mafia kidnapping a kid because they know Daredevil got wounded previously, so they're like, okay, draw him out while he's weak. So he's really on his last legs while he's doing that fight, which is why he gets tired so quickly in it. But he goes to rescue the kid because that's the most important thing. It has more emotional impact than anything in Born Again. It's embarrassing that they just can't get anything right. They think, oh, we've got CG blood and saying fuck a lot. Why aren't you liking this? It's because it's no good. You're really bad at it. You can't write. You can't match what has come before, and it's not nostalgia talking. It's a lack of talent that exists now. You don't understand why the Netflix show was beloved. People wanted more of it. And, well, the only thing worse than not getting what you want is getting it. So, yeah, 2 episodes to go. I'm going to watch those just to finish off the season. And then promptly forget it exists like every other bit of trash on Disney+. It sucks. Go watch the Netflix show, and you will watch a show that does drag a little bit. Netflix shows, the Marvel shows on Netflix suffered from being too long, I will say. All of them could have been like 4 episodes less, but they will respect your time for the most part, and more importantly, they have good stories and really good fight scenes. So, yeah, I ended up talking about 1 episode longer than I thought. Anyway, 2 more to go, and then this nightmare is over.